In this video, we are going to talk about the MongoDB architecture. MongoDB has a client-server architecture, so there's a MongoDB server and there's a MongoDB client. The client sends requests to the server, and server, based on the requests, act and perform some operation. MongoDB Server is the actual backend application that runs on a computer and responsible for the data management process. You can install the MongoDB Server in your own computer or in a cloud computer. MongoDB Server starts using the MongoD command in that computer, and after that it runs as a daemon process in the background of that operating system. MongoDB Client is an application that you install in your computer, and using that you can connect to a MongoDB server which has installed in your own local computer or in a remote computer. The Mongo sh command that we already familiar with that is a client. It creates an interactive shell for you, and you can use that shell to interact with the MongoDB server to perform data operations on the MongoDB server. MongoDB client connects to a MongoDB server using something we call connection string. So next I will explain the connection string to a MongoDB server. Imagine a data center. There are a lot of machines, computers there, and each of those machines may run several applications. Each machine or host can be located by a specific and unique IP address or a domain name. For example, in this picture, we see a host shown by purple color. It is accessible via internet and its address is cluster1.zfklgoo.mongodb.net. There are tools which you can find the IP address associated to this domain name. So you can use IP address or domain name to identify that machine or host. In this host, several applications are running. Each application runs in different ports. For example, in this purple host, 3 applications are running. An Apache web server application running on port 80, which is the web server for a website. A PostgreSQL database server running on port 5423, which is a database for a web application. And finally, a MongoDB server running on port 27071. In order to talk to this MongoDB server from our MongoDB client, let's say Mongo sh shell, we need to determine connection string, which basically has the address of host and the port in which MongoDB is running in that host. We may need also determine the database name and some authentication credentials. There are 2 options to specify the connection to MongoDB server. The first is the standard connection string format, and the second is the DNS seed list connection format. The MongoDB default port is 27017, but you can start a MongoDB server in any port that you want. In an earlier video, we created an account in MongoDB website, and there we had an access to a MongoDB server. We used the following the connection string that you see in this table to connect to that database. Let's see it again. So we type MongoDB plus srv. We determine the host after that, and then the name of the database. Also, we provide the username that's supposed to log into that MongoDB server. We enter our password, and finally we log into the MongoDB server in the cloud that we already created in earlier video. The next type of connection string is the standard connection string format. In earlier video where I installed the MongoDB in my local computer in my Mac OS, I typed MongoSH without giving any other information, and it logged into the local MongoDB server which was running in my computer. Actually, behind the scene, it uses some default connection string, and that was the reason I could log into that MongoDB server using MongoSH without any further arguments. The actual connection string for that is provided in this green table. The host is localhost, my own computer, and the port is the default port for MongoDB server, which is 27017. Now let's clear the terminal and use that connection string explicitly here to connect to the MongoDB server which is installed in my local computer in localhost. Okay, as you see, we connected to the MongoDB server in my local computer with that connection string. We can check the databases. Okay, let's exit. Clear the page. Also, we can provide the information like this with the arguments host and port. Again, we can connect to the MongoDB server in my local computer. If I change the port, you see that we have problems. We cannot connect because in that port there is no MongoDB server running. If you don't know in which port your MongoDB server is running, type this command lsof-i. It prints all open files processes, and we grab just the Mongo part of that result. Okay, and here we see that the MongoDB is running on port 27017. Actually, we see the whole connection string that we can use to connect to MongoDB server in our local computer.